Thanks everyone for joining. So welcome everyone. Welcome to our Google Kubernetes Engine tutorial. So where we will be able to discuss what exactly is Kubernetes and what are its dependencies. What are some things which we can actually try to consider from this. All of those things we will try to get from this tutorial for the 1 hour, whatever the 1 hour session which we are having right now. So we will discuss about all these things. So as part of our today's Google Kubernetes Engine tutorial, so we will understand what exactly is a Google Cloud, what is GCP, and then different types of, if I would say, what are different items which are being present inside this Google Cloud and how it is important, what are certain things which we need to consider. All these things we will understand. So let's go and try to start, and thanks for your valuable time in investing in the Google Kubernetes Engine tutorial. So this is Prashant. Okay, so let's go ahead, and today's agenda would be we will be seeing what exactly is Kubernetes, what is a GCP, we in short call it as a GCP, that's a Google Cloud Platform, and what is a Google Kubernetes Engine. So we will see that what exactly is the architecture of this Google Kubernetes Engine, and then the benefits of this Google Kubernetes Engine, and then finally hands-on means just I will show you how it looks like what is a portal and how you want to access it, what are certain details you need to pass in order to make sure that you create your GCP account. So we will just go through all these things as part of our today's tutorial. So just want to give you a broad vision what we are going to cover so that you will be able to understand it in a better way. So when we talk about Kubernetes, or maybe it may be GCP or Google Cloud Platform, see, first of all, the very first thing what you need to understand is what exactly is a cloud. First of all, if you want to discuss, either it may be Kubernetes or a Docker or about containers, anything you want to learn, the very first thing you have to understand is what exactly is a cloud. So without understanding what is cloud and the reality of it, there is no point in going to the high complexity, high sort of information being provided to you where you will not be able to get anything. So what I would do is I will go in a stepwise manner to make you understand the things in a better way, and then we will come back to our PPT and just see that whether we have covered all the things or not, and then later then we will try to take up any questions from your end and we will wrap up the webinar. Okay, so let me go ahead and try to first make you understand what is a cloud, and inside this cloud why are we trying to focus on the GCP part, which is a Google Cloud Platform, and why it is important, what are certain things which have been present as part of it. Okay, so let me just go and try to show you all this important information. Okay, so first of all, if you could see my screen over here, I want to make sure that I give you an introduction to GCP. So when I talk about GCP and all these things, right, first of all, what exactly is a cloud? So when I talk about the cloud over here, okay, so cloud, what exactly is this? Previously what used to happen, and right now why cloud is playing a vital role. For example, see, here we have a lot of data. Okay, so now what am I trying to make you understand is, so let me say you that you are there on one end, who is a user. Okay, user wants to access a particular website, just for an example. Okay, website can be anything, it may be Amazon, or it may be Flipkart, or whatever a user wants to access. So what is going to happen? User would request, okay, user would request whatever site it may be. Okay, so user would actually request whatever site it may be. Let me say it is amazon.com, just for an example. Okay, now what is going to happen? User has sent the request. So basically this would be present inside a particular server. Now server will go ahead and try to take the request from the user, and then the response would be provided by the server. Whether it is a failure or whether it is giving the amazon.com, it definitely the server will give a response. That what response it is, if everything goes fine, definitely it will give amazon.com site what you expected. But if something is wrong, either it will say a 404 internal error, or the site can't be reached due to some issues, if that is present. But generally the point which I want to make you understand here is, this is how a request and response model is being present in reality. This is also called as your client server model. Okay, client is here your user, and then server is other end, where the data is present. So this is also a client server model, we call it as. Now let me say, if it is an Amazon or a Google, whatever the data which is present with them, you are able to access that data. Now today when I go to google.com, So you will be able to see a Google page. Inside this Google page, I want to go for some information which I want. Now once you click on that, you are able to see that information. Now everything is happening in a very smooth and in a proper way. Why this is happening? Because at the back end, Google is able to manage a huge amount of data for you, so that anybody who wants to access any data, they would be able to give them up, because they have a huge server and everything, and that's where everything they are trying to store, right? This is one of the important point which all of us actually need to consider. So now here, the very important point which I just want to make you understand in this case is, let me say this is the server. Now you have to maintain the server. Let me say I am a Google company. Now if I am not able to maintain the server, then my customer who is accessing my site, which is a google.com, okay, and then if he's asking me some information, then definitely it is my responsibility as a Google company to give him the information. Then only my client will feel satisfied and happy. For that, I need to maintain my servers, because from my server only the data would be coming. As a Google company, I have to take care of my servers. If it is one server or two servers, there is no problem, I can handle it. But if I have thousands of server or 10,000s of server, where there is a number of people in the world who is accessing my site, then in that case, how can I manage it? How can I handle this huge amount of traffic? What should I do then? Then what you can do here is, you can create your data centers. Okay, you can actually go ahead and try to create your own data centers. Data center means, we will not talk anything very technically, very simple language. Data center here means nothing but, let me say you have an empty room. In that empty room, you are going to put all your servers. Okay, every server, let me say you have 50 servers. You take a big room and you put all the 50 servers over there, and that place is actually called as your data center, or you can also call as your data warehouse. Okay, where all your servers will be present in a rack. Okay, and then you will have one admin to take care of that activity. You will also have your AC and everything, because your servers generate a lot of heat. So in order to emit that heat, you need to have some coolants present, which will emit the heat out. And it is your responsibility as a Google company, it is my responsibility to handle those data centers or data warehouse, to take the buildings, to take that for rent and place all my servers. It is my headache, it's not my customer's headache. I have to take care of it, whatever it may be. So I don't have any other option. Either I do it or either I go out of the business. That's it. I don't have any other option available. If you serve properly, then your customers will be benefited and they will get the desired result out of it. It's as simple as that. If you're not able to maintain, then you will be out of the market, because if your servers are not maintained appropriately, then the end user will not get the right type of a data. So Google did it really nice. Google managed so nicely that they had a huge amount of data centers. Okay, they kept every servers in their own platform, in their own companies. They have kept the servers. They managed very well. They had a lot of IT admins. They purchased a lot of coolants. Everything they did really nice. But what is happening over here? In this case, what's happening is, see, for purchasing a room, you have to pay a lot of money. For purchasing those hardware, the servers and everything, which is a hardware, right? You have to put a lot of money for that. Third thing, you have to again make sure that your IT admins are also present, in order to make sure that at any point of time, if server goes down or if there are any issues, then what we are going to do. For that also, we require admin who is working 24/7 to monitor the servers and all. Okay, and on top of that, if there are any natural calamities or any natural disasters happening, then how are you going to maintain your servers? There are lots of things which are being present here. Even though you may be the best company in the world, but if these type of situations occur, at least you should be ready to handle the things like how I can do it. Then the cloud came into the picture. Cloud says that forget about whether it is GCP or AWS or your IBM cloud or your Microsoft Azure. Forget about it. The cloud says that get rid of all these servers and everything which you are trying to maintain. Let me say I have a X organization. Now my X organization is new. After 2 years, it became very popular. Everyone is using my company's website and they are entering into it, and then they are trying to like play with my website, or if they want to do some shopping, let me say it's an e-commerce platform. People are shopping, people are purchasing, traffic has increased, many customers have come. So what did I do? I started with 2 servers. Now I went up to almost like 15 servers or 20 servers, let me say. Now I am managing everything on my own by taking the particular room. I'm paying the rent for it. I'm purchasing the hardware servers. I'm having an IT admins to take care of it. I'm purchasing the coolants. I don't know if there are any natural disasters, how to take the backup. I don't have a vision, but I'm doing everything to satisfy my customer. Then cloud says on one fine day, it comes to me and it says that, hey, X organization, why are you trying to do all these things? I will give you some benefits. What are those? Get rid of your rent, get rid of your room, get rid of purchasing the servers, okay, get rid of your IT admins who are taking care of this 24/7, this entire servers and everything. And you don't need to worry about if there are any natural disasters or any problem. Also, you don't need to worry about it. So we are going to take away your entire headache. Are you ready for it? Definitely I will say yes, that is what I want. I can pay you how much you want, but please make sure that I get rid of this. I don't want to have this tension with me. So then cloud came into the market by giving all these benefits, saying that, okay, you don't need to do anything, we are going to take care of each and everything on behalf of you. And one more thing is, whenever you require, you can pay for that. For example, today you are using 2 instances in your cloud, you have to pay for only 2. Pay as you go model, we call it as. Okay, in the cloud we have something called as pay as you go model. Okay, that means as and when you're going to use the services, you need to pay for them. That's it. It doesn't have any other thing. So let me say you are using 2 instances, you will pay for only 2 instances. If you are using 10 instances, you will only pay for 10 instances. Okay, that is also one more benefit. In if you take your on-premise data center, like where you have your servers, either your customer is using that server, let me say either the customer is accessing your website or not, but your servers will always be continuously running, because you don't know at any point of time who is going to access your website. If you stop your server, and if at that time if your customers are expecting to have a look into your website, then it will throw an error. So for that, you need to always make sure that your servers are active 24/7. That is also cost. Okay, it's not a cost efficient mechanism, you need to pay a lot of cost for it. See how many disadvantages which you had at one point of time are being totally removed by the cloud. That is how cloud came into the picture. I hope I've given you an understanding. So this is the way how cloud has come into reality, and it is capturing the market. And in this cloud, many organizations have come with their own advantages and benefits. Like that, you have seen Microsoft Azure is there, Amazon Web Services is there, Google Cloud Platform is there, IBM Cloud is there. So like this in the market, there are multiple organizations who have come up with the same concept. Every one of them, they are trying to serve the same purpose by totally removing the on-premise data centers. Like you don't, as an organization, you don't need to focus on that. You focus on your application development and all, rest of infrastructure and everything we will take care. That's what cloud is saying. Now it is up to X organization to whom they want to go with, whether from GCP or whether to AWS or whether to Microsoft Azure or whether to IBM Cloud. It is up to that organization, like what they want to prefer. But this is how in reality this concept is altogether. That's how the on-premises data centers are being replaced totally by the cloud concept. Okay, so now our focus is all towards the Google Cloud, right? So let's first understand what exactly is this GCP, Google Cloud Platform. Okay, so as part of this, let's go ahead and try to focus, because as we got to know like what is cloud and how cloud is playing a vital role. So if you see here, cloud computing is actually nothing but it is breaking apart the key functions of your computer and laptop and then offer them as a service. Like what does that indicate? It says that we are actually breaking some key functions, okay, and then we are offering them as a service. Like as I already have mentioned right now, see, we can provide you as a cloud entire infrastructure, like where you can host directly on this infrastructure. That is one of the services which cloud provides you. It may be any cloud, AWS, GCP or IBM or Azure. Okay, so first level is infrastructure. Let me say as an X organization, I only want infrastructure to be hosted. Okay, then definitely I will host the infrastructure only. That is one service which cloud is providing you if you want only infrastructure to be present. Other thing would be software. Okay, so what you can do here is you can take your entire software, your application, your infrastructure, everything will be included here. Okay, so you can take this entire information and then you can put it inside the software altogether. Okay, that is also another important thing which we can consider. This is also one of the offering which cloud is providing. Okay, and the other one over here is platform. Okay, there are three services: infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. These are three services which cloud is providing you. Any cloud, if you take all of them, they provide these three services. Now it is up to you as an organization which one you want to choose. If you want infrastructure, then they will handle only your infrastructure and you can have your application with you only. Platform as a service, if you opt, then application as well as infrastructure, they will take care of it. Okay, your application plus your infrastructure. Okay, both of them they will take care in your platform as a service if you opt for it. Now in the software as a service, right, everything will be taken care by the cloud only. You don't need to do anything. You complete writing your application and you can directly deploy on the cloud. Cloud will take the entire responsibility. So that is software as a service. So these are three different services which are being available, like infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and then finally your platform as a service. These are three services which are being available by the cloud to you. Okay, that's what is our first point. Now Google Cloud, which is present, right, it has a lots of open source softwares. There are so many partners, developers, third party software, and there are other cloud providers who have been connected with the Google Cloud. That means it is having a wide variety of options being available. If you see here in this picture, Google Cloud ecosystem which is present, right, it comprises of lot of people, like your open source software. There are so many providers, partners, developers, other cloud providers, third party softwares, because they're believing what that Google Cloud is really best. That is the reason why there are so many providers who have been present as part of our Google Cloud ecosystem. Like if you could see, everyone is been connected with the Google Cloud because of its potentiality and the way how it is been designed by the Google company. Okay, and then it is also a very strong supporter of your open source software. So that means it says that everything here is open source. At any point of time, if you want to use any of the services, right, you can use it without any problem, because as it is an open source, so you can use it whenever you want it. So there wouldn't be any problem at that case. Okay, now your Google Cloud which is present, right, inside your Google Cloud there are so many platforms which are already been present. Now what are those? If you see here, Chrome, Google devices, your Google Map, your Gmail, your Google Analytics, Google Search, and your G Suite, all of them are being hosted directly on the Google Cloud itself. So Google company has directly deployed these services inside the Google Cloud itself, like your Google Chrome, your Google Maps, your Google devices, your Gmail, your Google Analytics, your Google Search, and then your G Suite. All of them are directly being deployed on the Google Cloud itself. Okay, so this is what we call software as a service. Software as a service means you don't have any dependencies at all. Directly the cloud will take the entire responsibility and they will take care of every service. So you don't need to worry or you don't need to focus about it. Okay, so this is a very important point which we need to consider when we talk about the Google Cloud. Here the other option which has been mentioned here in the fourth point, right, it is very clearly said that everything, your infrastructure, your platform, your software, whatever you consider, right, now Google Cloud is actually taking care of whatever I have highlighted right now. Okay, so all of this is actually called as software as a service because everything is taken care by the Google Cloud itself, so we don't need to worry about it. Okay, this is the entire Google Cloud, how it is being structured and it is being functioned. Okay, so now if I just go one step further and try to show you like what are the different regions like where it is being hosted. Okay, so I'll just show you over here, which is very easier for you to understand. Okay, if I just zoom it over here and if I show you the world map which is related to the Google Cloud, if you observe in India, there are two different data centers. One is in Mumbai, another one is in Delhi. Okay, so Mumbai and Delhi are two different places for the GCP. Okay, whatever is present, right, it is been hosted in two different data centers. Okay, now this is what we call as the backup. Okay, whenever if there is any backup or any failures happen, right, so you can get protected out of it. If you remember, I said one of the points, when you're hosting your data centers on your own, then if any natural disaster or any unforeseen situation happens, then how are you going to protect out of it? So it will be very difficult. But whereas cloud takes care of that responsibility here, it says that you don't need to worry, that already there are data centers. We are going to ensure that your data will be replicated to multiple nodes in your country, as well as we will also try to replicate the countries which are near to you. Okay, it may be Indonesia or a Singapore or maybe Melbourne or Sydney, like whatever is near to your our country. It will also try to ensure that the replication would happen to the nearby countries data also, so that what is going to happen at any point of time, if there is any natural disaster in our country, then if anything goes wrong, at least the data will be replicated to other, in other country, wherever the node is present or the data center is present, right? From there you can actually capture the data. Okay, so that there wouldn't be at any point of time a failure problems. If any customer or if any of your client accesses any data, it should not create any issues for them. That's how this regions concept and zones concept have come into the picture. This is how GCP is also taking care of ensuring that all your data is being replicated to multiple nodes by not creating any problems or issues. Okay, so this is another important thing which we need to consider when we actually talk about our GCP regions and then locations. This is another important point which I just want to make sure that you are able to understand. Now let me just move ahead. So that's what, if you observe here, Google Cloud is well provisioned across 60 zones. Okay, and then there are 130 points of presence. Points of presence means it's been present in 130 like countries wherever it is been present, right? It is been making sure that all the data centers have been present there, so that it wouldn't create any issues once we go ahead and try to use those particular data centers, and when we want to connect. See here, if you see the blue lines over here, every data center is internally connected. Okay, if you see the blue lines over here, every data center is internally connected, so that it would not create any issues whenever if there is any data replication failure, or if there is no data is being transmitted at any point of time, it's not going to create any problem. That's the reason it is being present over 60 zones and over 130 countries, in order to ensure that there wouldn't be any problems. Okay, if you want to use GCP, there are 4 ways like where you can interact with your GCP. One is using the console directly. Console means using your Google Chrome or any browser it may be. You can access from there directly, or either you can actually go with your Cloud Shell or your Cloud SDK, or either if you have your API readily available, you can use your API and access your GCP, or otherwise you have your Cloud mobile app, which is for both iOS and Android. So here, using the Cloud mobile app also, you can go ahead and try to interact with your GCP. But in your mobile app, what happens once you interact with your GCP in this mobile app, right? You need to understand that whenever you access this particular mobile app over here, right, you will only be able to see, but you can't do anything. Okay, whereas in your web, Cloud Shell and SDK and REST based API, here you can execute the functionalities. But whereas in your mobile app, you can only just see, but you can't execute, or not you can't do anything over here. Okay, this is also another important point which I want to highlight. So in this ways you can interact with your GCP. So what I would do is, I will just show you here. This is how your Google Cloud platform would look like. The actually the URL for this is console.cloud.google.com. Okay, so whenever if you want to access your Google Cloud console using the web browser, right, the thing what you need to do here is, you have to go with console.cloud.google.com. Okay, so this is the one which you need to the URL for you. Once you enter into this URL, right, there will be some details which will be asked to you. The first detail here is, you need to provide your information. Okay, so here in this case, so you need to make sure that you provide some amount of information, okay, which is actually present. Okay, so this is one thing which you need to understand. And what type of information do you need to provide? Like your name, your mobile number, and next important information will be either it may be a credit plus your debit. Okay, so anything, either it may be a credit one or it may be a debit card, you have to provide the details. Okay, Either it can be your credit card or your debit card details, either of them. If you have whatever you have in your like anything which is handy with you, right, you can go and try to access, either it may be your credit card or your debit card. Okay, and then you have to provide that information just to make sure that they will only give you that access provided you pass them these details, and make sure that this is actually safe and secure. Okay, so no, they are not going to take your data, and they are not going to take away any money if you are new to it. This is just to make sure your identity is being present. Okay, and they will give you some amount of credits which you can use for 3 months. Okay, from which that is like a fake money or a virtual money. For example, if you play a game, so when you play a game, right, they will give you some fake coins just to make sure that you play the game. In the same way, once you pass your credit or debit card details, and once they verify and they say that yes, it's the right type of information, then you will be given some amount of money which is virtual. Okay, you can't just utilize that money, this is just a fake money, and where you can avail all the services in the Google Cloud platform for the 3 months. It may be Kubernetes or a Docker or a compute engine or spinning up your virtual machines, whatever it may be. Within 3 months you can complete that. Okay, so you can go and try to utilize at any point of time. So that is also one of the good thing which the GCP is trying to provide to you, Google Cloud platform. Okay, so and remember one thing, once you pass either your credit or your debit card details, right, a 2 rupee would be deducted from your account. Okay, 2 rupee would be deducted from your account, and just to make sure and just to see that whether this card is a real card or not, and then again they will refund you this 2 rupee back immediately. Okay, this is also one more information which I want to provide to you if you want to create your own GCP account. So first thing is you need to go to your console.cloud.google.com, and then after that immediately you will be asked to give your information like your name, your mobile number and your address, and after which it will ask you to reveal your identity by making sure that you pass your credit or your debit card, and along with that your phone number would also be asked. Okay, and once these details are being passed, then 2 rupee will be deducted from your account, and immediately this will be refunded to your account one more time. Okay, and then after which you will be given some amount of money for which you can use it for 3 months. All the services and whatever you want to create, you can go ahead and try to create at any point of time. Okay, so that is also one more important information which I want to share with you. Okay, so this is how your GCP account will be created. Once you're able to create your GCP account successfully, so here you will be having your projects. Okay, so you can create a new project. Like for example, you can just click on a new project and you can create your own project. Okay, you can just put any project name on your own. You can just customize your project name. Like for example, I will say here in this case, it is my Edureka project. Okay, and then you can just go ahead and try to create. So once it is being created, right, you will be able to see. So it's just creating. You'll get a notification over here saying that whether the project has been created or not. It's done. Okay, so select the project. Okay, I can just select the project over here, and then what I would do, see all the activities. Okay, yeah, I will go back one more step. Here is my Edureka project. Okay, so I have been in my Edureka project over here. Okay, and then if you just click on this 3 bars towards the extreme left hand side, you will be able to see all the services which GCP is trying to provide, like billing, APIs and services, support, IAM and admin. Okay, here compute engine means it is your VM. If you want to spin up your virtual machines, you can use your compute engine, Kubernetes engine, VMware engine, distributed cloud, and there are so many serverless like cloud functions, app engine, in order to store your files and everything, cloud storage, file store. Okay, big table, like if you want to deal with the large amounts of database, like you have your big table, data store, spanner, SQL. Okay, so many things, application integration. If you want to access with networking, VPC network, networking services. If you want to observe like how the things have been behaving, then monitoring, logging, profiler. Okay, so many things are being present. If you go ahead, this entire 1 hour will be less for us to understand, because every cloud services provide a lot of things as part of it. If you observe the GCP over here, there are lots of things which you can actually try to access from here. So these are all other services which are being available for us. Okay, so this is how your GCP looks like, and this is your console. Okay, if you want to activate your Cloud Shell, you can just click on the button over here beside your search bar. There is something called as Cloud Shell. So if you click on it, your Cloud Shell will be activated, and you can also run the commands from here directly, and you can also access some of the resources inside your Google Cloud platform. Okay, even that facility is also been provided to you. At any point of time, you can also connect with your Google Cloud Shell. And if you want to search anything, okay, if you also want to search anything, you can search from here directly. For example, if I want my compute engine, so I can just put compute here. I got an option. I can just click on the compute engine and I can enter into it. So there is also a search bar. If you don't want to go through all this list which has been present, if you know that what you need to do, you can go to the search bar and directly click on it and ensure that you'll get that services available to you. Okay, and here this is your Google Cloud Shell, like where you can pass any information or any commands and you can interact with it directly. Okay, this is how basically your GCP altogether looks like. This is your Google Cloud platform. Always remember one point: whenever you completed creating your console by passing your credit and debit card details, either of them, okay, not both the things, either it may be credit or debit, whatever card you have. Okay, once everything is been done successfully, first step is you need to create a project. Without creating a project, you will not be able to host any resources on it. Everything will be hosted on your project what you created. Okay, you need to create your project, and on top of that you need to host all your resources whatever is present. Okay, so this is the important point which you actually need to consider whenever if you want to work on this GCP platform. Okay, so I have given you an understanding like how the GCP looks like and what exactly is a GCP cloud and what are different services available by the cloud in terms of infrastructure, software, and then the platform. Okay, so now as we got to understand like all these concepts, so now I will go one step further, like what is Docker and what is Kubernetes. Let's understand these two things. Okay, and then we will see like where these things will actually play a very vital role. Okay, so let me just go and try to just make you understand like what exactly is the Docker concept first, and then later we will go ahead and try to understand the things in a better way. Okay, so let me just take you to the Docker concept then, as we are already into it. Okay, let me just go to our whiteboard. Okay, so right now what I'll be explaining to you here in this case is Docker. So what exactly is a Docker? Okay, so before you understand what is a Docker, right, I want to first make you understand what is a container. Okay, without understanding this container, right, it will be very difficult. Everything is interrelated here. Docker, why I'm saying, you may think that okay, we need to discuss about Kubernetes, but remember one thing, the Docker and Kubernetes which I'm going to explain to you right now, which we also call it as K8. Okay, Kubernetes can also be called as a K8 also. Okay, Docker and Kubernetes both work hand in hand. So if you are applying for any of the jobs, right, definitely if you are applying for any Kubernetes role, it will be very clearly mentioned that you should have an idea of the Docker. In the same way, if you're applying for any Docker and anything which is related to DevOps role, right, it will also ask you that you should have a Kubernetes understanding. So these both work hand in hand. You have to know, in order to understand Kubernetes, you should know what is a Docker. Without understanding that, you can't understand what is Kubernetes. And along with that, the container which is present, right, this container topic is also very important. So let me go ahead and make you understand these things in a better way. Just for an example, let me say there is a VM. Okay, there is one virtual machine. Now in this virtual machine, what is going to happen here is, let me say there are two applications. Okay, for example, there are two applications which are being present. Okay, now these two applications have their third party libraries. Okay, libraries means which is actually, these libraries are required for your application to run successfully. Without these libraries, right, your application will not run. It is like a dependencies. Without having these libraries, right, your application will not run. Now what I'm going to make you understand is, listen to me very carefully. I will take this application and I will deploy it in this virtual machine. That's great, there is no problem. Okay, virtual machine is present in order to host the application. Now I took my first application and I hosted it on top of this virtual machine. Okay, so that's fine. Now this third party libraries and application, everything will be deployed on top of this VM. So now what I will do is, I will take another application and I will make sure that it is being deployed on this virtual machine. So now what is going to happen here is, when I'm hosting two different applications over here, okay, so when I'm going to host these two different applications on a single virtual machine, then what is going to happen is, sometimes there will be a conflict with the third party libraries which are being hosted on these applications. So due to which what is going to happen here is there will be a problem coming up and it is going to create an issue. Okay, so that is the reason why this concept has actually not been successful. Like where if you have one virtual machine and if you handle on top of this multiple applications, then the libraries which are related to those applications may have conflict and it may create issues or problems. Okay, so that is the one of the biggest thing which we are having as a concern, that in one single VM if you deploy multiple applications, then you would have a higher chances of conflict coming into the picture because of the third party libraries. Okay, so then what should we do now? This is our problem which we understood right now. So then what is that which we can actually try to do so that we can get rid of this problem? Now can I do something? See, if I take another VM, see there is one more solution which we can think of right now. What I can do, I will take one VM for this application and I will take another VM which I can deploy it on this application. That is also good idea, but the problem here is the cost will go high. I want to make sure that I have to design such a solution where my costing is less. I can't go with something which is more in terms of cost. So then what should I do? I have to make sure that everything is been cost optimized. So then what I will do right now here is I will just make you understand what is the solution which I want to make you understand here is I will have only one VM only, but I will go with a little bit of a different concept over here. Okay, let me just go with that concept. Okay, let me say the same concept. I have one VM, that is one virtual machine, same thing. Again I have my one application. Okay, there is again libraries which are being related to this application, and also there is another application which is present where I have libraries being present. Now what I'm going to do is if I deploy these two applications in single VM, you know that there will be a conflict in the libraries. So what I will do is I will segregate these two applications. Okay, and that's when the container comes into the picture. Okay, so I can use the container concept, and then what I can do here is I can segregate these two different applications. Okay, so that what is going to happen is these containers will directly be deployed on top of the VM. Okay, so these two are segregated right now so that there wouldn't be any conflict. So we will use this container concept. So what is container trying to do here? Container is helping us to package this entire application along with their libraries. Okay, and if there are any dependencies which are being present, what it is trying to do, it is trying to package this application as a single unit. So that is the benefit of this container. Container will package this entire application where you will not have any conflicts with the other applications if you try to deploy in terms of any libraries. So in a single VM, now you can take multiple containers and you can deploy it on top of it. And in your container, you can have your application and libraries being present. Okay, so that is how basically your container concept has come into limelight, and this is the problem which we have actually tried to remove. Okay, so that we can directly use the containers and we can deploy on top of VM, and you can deploy as many applications as you want. It's not going to create any problem, as everything is packaged in a single container. You will also not have any issues if you want to work on. Okay, and this is also portable. When I say portable, right, what does this indicate? So they can internally communicate among themselves. This application can talk to another application, and in the same way vice versa, because all of them are present in a single container, right? So you don't need to worry about it. So internal communication is being done within the containers itself. Okay, that's what we basically call it as our portability. Okay, so for example, if you host it in two different VMs, this is VM1 and this is VM2, and applications are hosted in containers over here, just for an example. Now they can internally communicate. That portability is being provided. If you allow an IP address, or if you allow those port numbers to talk within internally within themselves, that facility is being allowed in the container concept. You can at any point of time allow your containers to go ahead and try to talk to them internally. That facility is being provided to you. Okay, so this is in the Docker. This is how the container concept is actually very important. Now, as you got to know that right now we are using containers, like where our application is being hosted on this top of this container, where container is a package, like where everything is being hosted in that container package. It is your library or your third party application, whatever you're trying to host, or your libraries or any frameworks which are available, everything is present over there only. So you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so that it will be directly deployed on VM. Now, where is Docker playing a vital role then? So where can I add my Docker over here, and how can I understand my Docker concept? So now I'll make you understand that how the Docker will play a vital role here. Okay, so now you got to know that, okay, in the containers I'm going to put my application, and this container I will host it on top of the VM. Great, you got to know that understanding. So now what I will make you understand here is, what exactly is this Docker then? Okay, so Docker here means this is a platform which is used for developing, shipping, and then running your application. For example, you know that your container is present. Okay, this is your container. Your container, what did I say? This is present, okay, in order to host your application. Okay, whatever application is present right inside this container, you're hosting your application with all your libraries and frameworks. Okay, now in every virtual machine, okay, in every virtual machine you will have your CPU inside your virtual machine, your memory card will be present inside your virtual machine, and then your network. Okay, this will also be present inside your virtual machine. Now, in order to, for your, if you deploy your container on top of this virtual machine, your container will sit, but your container can't access either your CPU or your memory or your network. Now, in order to make them access, you need to make sure that your Docker is sitting in your virtual machine. Then only your container will be able to access your CPU, your memory, and then as well as your network. Okay, so what is the point here? In order to make sure that your container is working appropriately, right, you need to make sure that your Docker should be present. If your Docker is not present, then your container is not fit for any purpose. So you have to make sure that your Docker is sitting inside this VM in order to host your container, and then your container can access your CPU, memory, and network which is present inside the virtual machine. That is the reason why we use this Docker and make sure that our container is using all the benefits out of it. Okay, so this is the reason why we just go ahead with this concept. And there is also another concept called as an image. Okay, now what exactly is an image over here? Image means, like, if you know about your VM templates, okay, virtual machine templates. Now, what are these virtual machine templates here? When I talk about the virtual machine templates here, right? So what is going to happen? Let me say you will create one virtual machine where you will have all the configuration, and you want to spin the same virtual machine two more times. So you will again copy this template and you will create it easily. So in the same way, image is also like that. Let me say, using this image, you can create your Docker containers. You can, all the templates of your containers will be present in this image. So you can directly deploy this image where you will be able to make sure that your container is created. Like how you have in your Google Cloud or your AWS, already your ready-made templates will be present for your virtual machine. In the same way, you can also use an image. In this image, you'll have a ready-made containers available. Okay, those ready-made containers, you can just directly deploy it with the help of the image. So in the image, you'll have all those Docker containers which are required for you to create it. So you can directly take the image and you can create that container, and then in that container you can deploy it on top of a VM, and in that VM Docker should be readily available in order to make sure that your container can use your CPU, memory, and then the network. So this is altogether how the Docker concept has come into limelight. And Docker requires your container, and your container requires your image, like where you can directly, in the image, you can go ahead and try to create that template and you can use it without any issues. Okay, so if you want to see that, I can also show you over here. Okay, this is your Docker hub, hub.docker.com. So here you'll have all your images available here. These are your all your images which are readily available. So you can directly take this image, like if you want Ubuntu, directly you can install this image. Okay, you can directly install this image, and then your container will be definitely created. So MySQL, Postgres, BusyBox, Python. So in this way, if you click on see all the Docker images, right, you will be able to see, and directly you can install these images. Okay, so that your containers can be easily created. Okay, just to give you an example. And the last concept for today which I want to make you understand here is, once the Docker concept is clear, so now I will go right now with our Kubernetes concept. As I already said you, Kubernetes and then your Docker both go hand in hand. That's what I tried to explain to you. So now what I will make you understand in this case is, let's discuss about something called as Kubernetes. Okay, so now when I talk about your Kubernetes over here in this case, right, so what exactly is this? So let me say, actually your Kubernetes which is present, right, it actually manages all your containers. Okay, whatever containers which are present, right, it manages your containers. Let me say, if you have one or two containers, yeah, you can manage it. But if there are thousands of containers which are being present, then it is very difficult for the organization to contain, like to go ahead and try to manage those containers. Sometimes there are 10,000 containers or 20,000 containers which would be present. How would you go ahead and try to manage those? It is very difficult for an individual to do it, or for an organization to do it. And even if you do it, that is again a manual task. Why don't we go with for an automation then? As the world is advancing, then definitely we should think about automation. So in that case, what you can do is, you can use your Kubernetes as a container management, like where your Kubernetes will manage all your containers. It may be around 10,000 to 20,000 or 50,000 containers. It may be. The Kubernetes main advantage or the speciality is to manage all the containers at scale. At scale here means, like as and when you grow your containers, or as and when you decrease your containers, it's a Kubernetes responsibility. When you use it, it will go ahead and try to manage as many containers as are present. Okay, that is the main advantage of handling this Kubernetes and ensuring that this Kubernetes actually play a vital role. For that purpose only, we go ahead and try to use this Kubernetes. Okay, otherwise it doesn't have any significance apart from that. Using Docker, what you're trying to do, you're creating those images and containers and all. That is the speciality of Dockers. Now what Kubernetes is doing, it is managing all those containers which are being created out from the Docker. Okay, it's managing 10,000s or 50, like around lakhs of containers which are being present, right? The Kubernetes responsibility is to manage all those things. Okay, so now what I would do here in this case is, I'll quickly make you understand the architecture of the Kubernetes, which will be the last concept for this particular webinar. So if I could just show you, so here in the Kubernetes, if I just take a cluster, okay, Kubernetes cluster, how the Kubernetes cluster works, like it is like a master concept, and then there is a node concept. There are two concepts, master and node. In the node, if I take node, right, in this node, what you will have a pod. Okay, this is a pod actually. And then you have something called as a kubeproxy. I'll explain to you the functionalities, like why it is and for what purpose it is been designed. And inside your master, right, what are the things which are available? So in your master, you have something called as your API server. Okay, and then you have something called as etcd. Okay, and then you have your control manager. So in the master, you have again your control manager is present, and then you have something called as your kube scheduler. Okay, so totally there are four over here in the master node, and then you have other part which you have a node here, right? They have kubeproxy and pod. These two, master and node, both of them in combination is called as a cluster. Okay, it is a Kubernetes cluster. When you talk about a Kubernetes cluster, what does this indicate? It indicates that it is a combination of your master as well as your node. Both of this all together is called as a Kubernetes cluster. Now what is pod? Pod is nothing but it manages all your containers. Okay, all the containers will be present inside your pod. Whatever containers you are going to create, right, all those containers will be present in this pod only. So that is the benefit of this pod. And the kubeproxy which is present here, right, it is basically meant for your networking, like what IP addresses should come in, to filter all your IP addresses, to make sure that only certain IP addresses are coming and certain IP addresses which you think it is harmful or malicious, you can use your kube-proxy and make sure that only right type of networking is coming into the picture. That is kube-proxy is meant for. Okay, and your API server which is present here, right, that is basically meant for internet. Like, let me say, if you want to access any third party applications or any third party APIs, if you want to access, then you need to use your API server, and you can connect directly to other third parties which are being present from the internet. You can use this API server and can access the information. Okay, and then the kube scheduler which is there, right, the kube scheduler which is present, what does this kube scheduler does? This kube scheduler actually looks after pods. Let me say, if there are containers, 100 containers are present, for example. Now this 100 containers will go into different pods. Now this is one pod. In that there will be multiple pods present in the network. So this kube scheduler which is present, right, it will schedule like to which pod this container should go. So the kube scheduler will look into the pod's activity, whether the pod is working fine or not, whether inside that pod the containers are working fine or not, if there are some containers which are available, in which pod it should go, those containers, everything is taken care by the kube scheduler over here. Okay, that is another functionality. And control manager which is present here, right, this is basically used for your public cloud. Let me say I am using now Google Cloud. Using Google Cloud, I'm using this Kubernetes. Now if you want to connect to some other public cloud like Amazon Web Services or IBM Cloud or Microsoft Azure, then definitely you need to use this control manager, and then you can access another public clouds which are available in the market. Okay, and then finally the etcd which is present, right, this is a database. Okay, etcd which is present, right, this is the database. Okay, now the database which is being present here, right, this is a database of pods. Now etcd will take care of the health of all the pods, the database, like if any pod fails or if any pod is having any unhealthy conditions, everything will be gathered in the etcd, which is a database of the pods, just to see that whether everything is working appropriate or not. Okay, so etcd is basically the database of the pods, like where it will go ahead and try to see like what are the things which are being present and whether the pod functionality is going appropriate or not. Okay, so this is altogether your Kubernetes topic, and this is your Kubernetes cluster. This is your Kubernetes architecture also, like where you have master and node, and in the master you have API server, kube scheduler, etcd, control manager, it takes care of everything. And inside your node you have your kube-proxy, pods, and then the pod networking and all these things. Okay, so this is your entire Kubernetes cluster where you can able to see all important things. Okay, so I have given you a clarity related to this. Now let's go back to our PPT and observe like what are the things which we have actually covered. Okay, so we have done with all our Kubernetes. I have already explained to you that it is a container management tool and all these things. Okay, the features, as I have already said to you, like automatically it will take care of all the containers which are present. Self-healing, it will understand if any container falls down, right, it will go and try to automatically understand those things and it will spin up the containers at the same time. Horizontal scaling, if you need more containers, Kubernetes will understand and it will create the containers automatically for you. And there is a proper load balancing available. Load balancing means the load will be balanced equally to all the containers by not creating any problem. As I said, it is a storage orchestration, like where all your container will store all the important information by not creating any issues. Batch execution, any jobs if you want to run, it will be run in a proper manner in all the nodes. The batch execution will be done without creating any issues. Okay, and it has a very good configuration management, and it is also secret by ensuring that you would get to know the information. Automatic rollbacks and rollouts, that means at any point of time if Kubernetes understands that we need more containers, then automatically it will come up, and then at the same time if it requires that there is no amount of high traffic, then it will go down again. Okay, it will scale down. So automatically Kubernetes is intelligent enough to understand when to roll back and when to roll out. These are some of the features of Kubernetes which are being available. Okay, and I already explained to you like what exactly is a Google Cloud platform and all. So we have done at the start of the session. So we discussed about the regions and all these things. Okay, what is that which GCP provides you? I have shown already in the Google Cloud Console. So these are all other services which GCP is trying to provide us. And I've already made you understand like how you can see the Kubernetes and all these things. Okay, so if you want to see the architecture, I've already shown you all those things right now. Okay, so these are all other things. If you want to work on the Google Kubernetes engine, you need to ensure that all of these things are being present with you. If I could show you even in the console right here, if you can just go and put it in the search. Okay, that is your GKE. If you just put GKE, right, your Kubernetes engine will come into the picture. You can just close this Cloud Shell as I'm not using it. Okay, you will be able to see your GKE being loaded. So once it is loaded, I'll show you that part. Okay, yeah, this is Kubernetes engine API. You can just enable and you can play with your Kubernetes engine. Okay, and what you will be learning in the GCP certification program, the first thing is you will be getting an introduction to what is this GCP platform, and they will be hands-on related to it. And then you need to manage your GCP. For that, you need to be again having a hands-on, which is our second module. Our third module will be all about the virtual networks in the GCP, and after which you will again be having a hands-on related to it. And then you will be having an IAM concept, security and identity fundamentals, and after which again there will be a hands-on for you. The fifth module will all be related to your compute services, and they would be a hands-on related to it. Then sixth module is all related to your data storage services, which is related to GCP storage, and they will be a hands-on again related to it. The seventh module is all about the Google Kubernetes engine, which I'm already explaining to you. We will be talking in detail about it in our sessions, which will be a hands-on part. Eighth module is all about the application development, okay, where we will be discussing how to design an application using GCP. Okay, and the ninth module is again DevOps, and then 10th module is all about the automation. Okay, so those are all other things which we are going to cover as part of our structured learning for the GCP certification training. Okay, so these are all are the different modules which we are going to cover, and this is our GCP certification training which we are going to take care of. Okay, so these are all are the important concepts which we always need to understand. Okay, and so the benefits of GKE already I've explained to you. So load balancing, it will balance the load equally. Auto scaling, it will understand and it will scale automatically based on your traffic in the containers. Auto upgradation, it will automatically update whenever if there is any features or any patch if you want to apply, it will automatically upgrade it. And finally the monitoring and log, like where you can monitor like how containers are been working with the help of Kubernetes, and you can also see the logs like where you can understand how it is been behaving. Okay, and thanks everyone for joining. Okay, have a great day everyone.